Skill doesn't grow just because you spend time on it. People repeat the same actions every day, typing, walking, speaking, and yet improvement often stops after a certain point. Progress begins when practice becomes intentional rather than automatic. When you try to learn something new, your brain builds connections between neurons. These connections carry signals that represent movement, thought, or decision making. With repeated, focused effort, those signals travel faster and with greater precision. Over time, the brain strengthens these pathways, making performance smoother and more reliable. So what actually makes practice effective? First, clarity of goal. Practicing without a clear target leads to vague results. Instead of saying, "I want to get better," define exactly what needs improvement. It could be accuracy, timing, control, or consistency. Narrow goals allow your brain to focus its effort and measure progress. Second, working on weaknesses. Growth rarely happens in the areas you already perform well. It happens where mistakes occur. Studies show that high performers consistently isolate their weak points and train those areas directly, rather than repeating what feels comfortable. Third, focused attention. Learning requires full engagement. When attention is divided, the brain cannot properly encode and refine new information. Deliberate practice demands short periods of intense concentration, where every repetition is observed and adjusted. Another key factor is difficulty. Improvement happens just beyond your current ability, not far beyond it, and not below it. If a task is too easy, nothing changes. If it is too difficult, frustration takes over. The ideal practice zone challenges you slightly more than you're used to, forcing adaptation. Breaking skills into smaller parts also plays a major role. Complex abilities are rarely mastered all at once. Instead, they are built piece by piece. By isolating components, you allow yourself to understand and refine each part before combining them into a complete performance. Speed should come later. When practicing too fast, mistakes are repeated and reinforced. Slowing down gives you control over each movement or decision. Once accuracy becomes consistent, speed can increase naturally without losing precision. Feedback is another essential element. Without knowing what went wrong, improvement becomes guesswork. Effective practice includes a constant loop: perform, evaluate, adjust, and repeat. This cycle ensures that each attempt is better than the last. Learn to rest. The brain needs time to consolidate new information. Short, repeated sessions with breaks are more effective than long, exhausting hours. During these breaks, the brain processes and stabilizes what has been practiced. There is also value in mental rehearsal. Imagining a skill in detail activates similar neural pathways as physical execution. When combined with real practice, this strengthens learning and improves performance without additional physical strain. Over time, these methods lead to visible change. Movements become more efficient, decisions become quicker, and effort begins to decrease. This is not because the task has become easier, but because your brain has adapted to handle it better. And eventually, what once required effort becomes something you can do with control, confidence, and ease.